Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking. Crimson Vow spoilers, November 1st edition. I even squeezed a couple in there I missed on the 31st, and a couple that's already been posted on the 2nd because I fell asleep today and I woke up late past midnight. Yeah, you know how it goes. So anyway, trade table seat back boys in their uh, full upright position as we begin spoiler season. Don't forget, guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, put some comments down below, help feed that YouTube algorithm. In the description below is stuff for sale to help support the channel, link to the eBay page and the email. So, let's get started. First, we have on the agenda here boarded windows. So, 3 cost artifact. Creatures attacking you get -1/-0 at the beginning of each end step, and if you took 4 or more damage this turn, you exile boarded windows. Very interesting. This could be good in sealed, although with as much creature damage that goes around, it might go away relatively quickly. Um, I'm not sure if it's going to be a thing or not unless tokens becomes a thing. Interesting artifact. I like the flavor, so we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think it's going to do a whole lot. Next here we have the Ancient Spruce, because that's what that big monstrosity looks like. Anyway, it's a black, green, and 2 for a tree folk that's a 1/4. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power deals combat damage equal to its toughness instead of its power. Now this is pretty cool. Um, Obviously this thing deals 4 damage, being a 1/4 is irrelevant. Um, Unless it has to fight something with a fight spell. But for a black, green, and 2, this thing's pretty sweet, especially not being legendary. And it's going to make a lot of decks, especially like in Commander, that butt fight really popular because also you can now play creatures or even a deck full of creatures where the power is bigger than the toughness, and then it doesn't matter because it does damage with the power. So this is a really cool mechanic. I think it's a fixed mechanic. I like it a lot. It is only uncommon. Will we see a lot of it? Probably not. But it will definitely probably see some limited play. Look at this, boys. They reprinted Mulch back in its heyday as a common. So 1 green and 1 if you've never seen the card before. It's a sorcery. You reveal top 4 cards of your library. Put all land cards revealed this way into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. This was a powerhouse and has been a powerhouse in the past in many decks. It's very interesting to see what this is going to look like on the new format, especially with graveyard shenanigans. Because worst case scenario, you get a bunch of land that you can actually cast stuff with. Best case scenario, you put a bunch of stuff in your graveyard where you want it anyway. So, boom, boom. This will probably really fuel up a lot of graveyard-centric decks, but we're really gonna have to wait and see what comes of it. However, I do love the picture, so yeah. I mean, I like old school too, but I mean, mulch is mulch, right? So moving on, next we have Markov's Retaliation. So here we have a red and 2 sorcery. It says choose one or both. Creatures you control get +1/+0 to end of turn. Target vampire you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. So this would be a great limited card because it's not only a pump spell, but if you run vampires, you can deal damage to stuff. Now, since it's only vampires, it's very limited, so it would probably be best in the limited format, sealed, draft, so forth and so on. Unless vampire decks becomes a big thing, I don't see us getting a whole lot of play. It might be a one of in most vampire decks, though, just because it is a way to deal damage, especially if you have big vampires, and especially if those vampires do things when they deal damage to people. So, interesting common, see a little bit of play, probably nothing in standard. Here we have Dreadful Service. So for a black and 2, we have an enchantment. It's a rare. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. So that's very interesting. Um, Probably won't see a whole lot of play in limited because of the not a whole lot of discard effects. I don't think, at least not yet that we've seen. Now in standard, that's a whole other story. There's lots of discard effects in standard that can make this very useful, especially instant speed. So you can just start pumping out creatures. And the big thing here is these black zombies don't have decay. They're just zombies forever. So yeah, this could actually see some play in some decks. So keep an eye on this one, guys. Moving along. Look at what got reprinted, boys and girls. It's Hero's Downfall. Is that not sweet? One of the best black removal spells from Theros back in the day, and now it's downshifted to uncommon. 2 black and 1, destroy target creature or planeswalker at instant speed. this changes the whole format of Standard. Um, just because this is and it will probably always be one of the best removal spells in the format that Standard is going to get to see. No drawbacks, kills anything for 2 black and 1. I'm really happy to see this. This is definitely going in my red black deck over top of some other spells that I have. Uh, this is going to easily replace all the 2 mana removal spells that have big drawbacks like Power Word Kill, the one that does 2 damage when you kill any creature. Like, that's going to take the place of all that because it kills planeswalkers, and planeswalkers are a thing. And for 1 more mana, it does kill anything, and it's an instant. So, welcome back, Heroes Downfall. Boy, have I missed you. So, moving right along. Next here we have Edgar's Awakening. So for 2 black and 3, it's a sorcery. Return target creature from graveyard to the battlefield. Now, whenever you discard Edgar's Awakening, you may pay 1 black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's very interesting. It has multiple things that can be used and used for. So, I mean, 5 mana return spell, it's fine. We're going to have to wait and see how much graveyard shenanigans we got going on before we figure out if this is actually good or not. But 5 mana is right on par with what it normally is for this. I mean, definitely good and limited, probably. That's probably gonna be it. All right, so we got our first flip card here. Aw, it's a kitty. So we have Mischievous Geist, which is this right here. It's a cat spirit. Gotta love it. Whenever Mischievous Geist deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Boy, is that not sweet. One blue and one for a 1/1 that draws a card when he makes contact. That seems really good. The disturb cost is cat-like curiosity, so whenever enchanted creature deals damage to a player, draw a card. So this is an uncommon, but I do see this getting lots of play in definitely the limited format, and I want to see a lot of people use this probably in Commander as a one-of just because it's that good. And also, someone's going to try to do this thing in Standard because the no drawback of just drawing a card by hitting somebody is just phenomenal. So we'll see how this plays out. Moving right along, we have the Thirst for Discovery. So a blue and 2 instant, you draw 3, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a basic land. I don't know why they think that's a drawback. That seems phenomenal. This will probably see some play to some point. But to be honest with you guys, there's a lot of good draw spells right now for for 4. There's a better one that lets you just take 2 out of the top 4. Plus it flashes back, so it makes it even better. There's other draw spells that are very similar to this without discarding. The best thing about this is there are cards that we've seen in the set that if you discard them, things happen. So you may want to combo that with this in limited. But as far as standard goes, I'm not sure if this is going to see play. I mean, it's 3 cards for 3 mana, but we'll have to wait and see, guys. Moving right along. All right, we have another rare. We have the Blood Vial Purveyor. So 2 black and 2 for 5/6. Holy cow. And it has Flample, which is Flying Trample. Anyway, whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player creates a blood token. Okay. Whenever Blood Purveyor attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each blood token defending player controls. How is that a drawback? Oh, this thing just busted. 4 mana for a 5/6 Flample. I mean, thank God for Heroes Downfall. This thing's just gross. Oh, they get a blood token whenever they cast a spell. That's the bad thing. Yeah, if they don't use it, this thing gets bigger and bigger and kills them. And then they have to discard a card and sacrifice it to draw a card. This just seems, wow, is this thing powerful? Wow. I look at that. This will definitely see standard play. This is definitely seeing limited play. This is a bomb like nobody's business. This thing's probably gonna see play in like Pioneer and Brawl, Commander. Like, wow, this could even see some play in the older formats. 4 mana is a lot, but Jesus, for a 5/6 with flying and trample, that makes it hard. That you have to fatal push with effort. Like, I don't know. This seems really good, guys. Wow, this seems good. Anyway, moving on before I wet myself. So it's the Honeymoon Hearse. That's funny. So for red 2, you get a 5/5. Holy shit. Wow, these are out of control. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control. Honeymoon Hearse becomes an artifact creature till the end of turn. Just 2 creatures, huh? Just 2. Just any 2. This is disgusting. Um, yeah, so this is going to be definitely a thing in Weenie decks. Notice it's red for Red Rush. So all those 1/1s that can't get through anymore now become a 5/5 trample creature. I think this is really good. It's going to see standard play. It's definitely going to see modern play. Or not modern, I'm sorry. Limited play. I mean, hell, it might see modern play with the just 2 creatures. I mean, Lingering Souls will activate this thing. Um, so, yeah, definitely going to be a thing probably in Commander as well. So, whew, wow, those 2 cards are over the top so far. Stesnia Uprising. So for 2 red and 2, we have an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, or at the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 red human creature token. Okay. Then if you control exactly 13 permanents, you may sacrifice the Uprising. When you do, it deals 7 damage to any target. Oh, okay. If you haven't noticed, I haven't read these because these are all nuts. Um, yeah, this seems good. I mean, notice it says you may sacrifice. You don't have to sacrifice those permanents after you create a 1/1 red creature, or you can and deal 7 damage to anything. You know, them, their planeswalker, big creature they got on the field for 4 mana. This seems kind of good, honestly. Like, wow. Man, there's a lot of good stuff in this one. Back to the commons. So, Honored Heirloom, 3 mana, add 1 mana of any color. 2, and tap it, exile target card from the graveyard. Eh, it's an okay mana rock, great for limited. Probably going to see some play there, especially because it exiles cards out the graveyard. Probably the only place it's going to see play, but a fine card. Alright, Patchwork Crawler. That is the most disgusting thing. Sweet. Ugh. Anyway, a blue and 1 for a 1/2 is a zombie horror. For blue and 2, you exile target creature card from your graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on the crawler. Patchwork Crawler has all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with it. Oh, wow. Um, this can get out of hand real quick. Remember that cat we just saw? It says when you punch somebody in the face, you draw a card. Um, excuse me. Yeah. Along with anything else, especially black creatures that have dumb abilities. Um, Commander, imagine exiling like a Feldergriff or some silly crap. Like this thing's gonna be the bomb. This seems really good, especially for a 1/2. Um, and this is definitely graveyard shenanigans that are gonna have to be dealt with. It's definitely gonna see limited play. Probably will see some standard play, Pioneer maybe. It might even see modern play depending on what kind of cards we're running around with. So moving on. All right, we have the Ascended Pack Leader, 1 green for 2/1. Oh my God, why? Ascended Pack Leader enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counter on it for if you control a permanent with value 4 mana or greater. Whenever you cast a spell 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on Pack Leader. Did green need this? Like, seriously. God, this is just too good. I mean, it's a 1/2. It's a 2/1 for 1 green. This is the white ability. This is what white and red does. Green doesn't do this. Plus, it just gets bigger later in the game when you start making big stuff. So, God, that's good. My lord, there's lots of good cards in this spoiler. So we have Distracted Geist here. Whenever Distracted Geist attacks, target creature defending player controls, you get to tap it for 2/1 for 3. Not too bad. Disturbed makes an enchantment, does the exact same thing on a creature. This is going to see some amazing limited play, but probably that's the only place it's going to see any play, honestly. Moving right along, we have the Hamlet Vanguard because 2 shields are cool. A green and 2 for a 1/1, that's awful. It's got Ward 2, that's not too shabby. Uh, Hamlet Vanguard enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it for each other non-token human you control. Um, so this is okay. It'll probably be good and limited. Um, I think it's gonna be hard to make this good in standard because you have to have other humans. Could be wrong. But if you get 2 humans in play for 3 mana, you can get a 5/5 with a Ward 2. So, but it also says non-token. We're gonna have to wait and see if the synergies are there to make this good. This might be a good card modern with Vials in the humans deck. just because you can put it into play and make this thing a monstrosity. But it doesn't have trample or anything, so is it really worth it for 3? Because it's really a dead card. Um, I'm a little on the low side for this. If it's going to see any play anywhere, it's probably going to be standard. I mean, other than limited, obviously. So, moving right along. Alright, we have the Lantern Bearer for 1 blue. It's a 1/1 flyer. In this case, so it's a flying man. Its disturbed cost gives you +1/+1 and flying. So not a bad common. Be great in limited draft and what have you. But that's probably the only place it's going to see play. It doesn't really do a whole lot past that. So, but it is a common, but it's a good one. So next here we have Inspired Idea. Excuse me. So this is pretty sweet. Blue and 2, you get to draw 3 cards. The only drawback is your max hand size is reduced by 3 for the rest of the game. Now, if you cleave it for 5, you get to get rid of the hand size and just draw 3 cards. But early game, like when you're down on cards, like casting this and having a max hand size of 4 seems fine. So, also too, if you have no max hand size, you reduce that by 3, it's still no max hand size. So this is probably going to see a lot of commander play, things like that, brawl. In limited, obviously it's going to be a powerhouse just because you probably won't get up to 4 cards in limited once you draw 3. Um, so yeah, I think it's a good card. Probably going to see some standard play to some degree. And probably be popular in a lot of the older formats. Moving right along, we have the Whispering Wizard. Blue and 3 for a 3/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit. Creature token with flying. Only triggers once each turn. Great for limited. Probably the only place it's going to see any play. Other than that, it really costs too much. And since it only triggers once per turn, it's not going to see a whole lot of action. Obviously, it'd be good in Commander. Oh boy, we got a mythic, let me tell you. Cultivator Colossus. So, 3 green and 4, trample. Whenever its power and toughness is equal number of lands you control, when it enters the battlefield, you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield tapped. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. So this thing is disgusting. There's going to be, it's already in green. There's going to be a combo where you probably play black. You jerk this thing out of your graveyard. We've seen cards that do it. Put it into play. If you have 2 lands in play, you just start squatting lands on the battlefield, drawing cards left and right. Um, yeah, this thing's going to be disgusting. I think this is easily a $20 card. Not only for that, but Commander players are drooling. I can hear you already back there salivating in the background for this card if you play green. And as the older formats, this is just another great card to pull out of the graveyard or cheat into play that has an amazing effect. So yeah, easily $20 card. We're probably going to see lots of play with this thing everywhere. Moving right along, we have the Falconry Forebearer. So black and 2 for 3/1, not terrible. Has flying, even better. Can't block, that's probably expected. Whenever the Forebearer deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. That's pretty sweet. For a black, you sacrifice 2 tokens, return the bearer from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's really good too. So this is a really cool card. This is going to be really great for the mono black aggro decks or aggro decks in general that are black, because flying is hard to deal with a lot of the times. And the ability for it to make blood tokens, and then you sack them to bring this back, plus draw a discard. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a thing. I mean, it's probably going to be more than a couple of dollars, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving right along, we have the House of Haunted Dolls. And if that ain't creepy, I don't know what is. So 5 mana for a rare artifact. 1, you tap, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a copy of the exiled card, but it's a 0/0 artifact construct creature token in addition to other types. With this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. That creature gains haste till end of turn. Activate only whenever you could cast a sorcery. So this seems amazing. This is going to be great in limited. Especially if you have a high artifact count, and this may make an artifact deck for standard. You commander guys out there, I see you licking your lips again for this. This is going to be an amazing card for you guys. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. So I think it's easy a $5 card. Easy. Moving right along, we have the Bloodsworn Squire. This is a pretty sweet card. So for 4 mana, you get a 3/3, which is okay. For a black and 2, you can discard a card. The Squire gains indestructible to end of turn. You tap it. Then if there are 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you can transform him. which then becomes power and toughness equal to the creature card in your graveyard, which is easily a 4/4. And you can also still discard a card for it to gain indestructible to end of turn and tap it, which can actually make it bigger. This is a great common, very high price though, so it's going to be really good in sealed and limited formats. But that's probably the only place it's going to see play. So, wah wah. Moving right along. Sigarda's Imprisonment. So for a white and 2, enchant creature, can't attack or block. You can exile the enchanted creature and create a blood token. So this is basically the new pacifism slash, embodying gold slash whatever 3 mana stop your guy from doing stuff. Spell is with the extra ability of making a blood token when you want to exile him. So, good common card. Good removal for limited. We have the Wedding Security here. We have 2 black and 3 for a 4/4, not bad rate. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice a blood token. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on the security and draw a card. That's pretty amazing. Only probably going to really be good in limited formats, which is probably going to make it a powerhouse in those formats because of what it does, drawing cards and getting bigger. Costs too much for standard unless there's a really good vampire deck wants this on the top end, which I think there might be better cards for top ends. But other than that, probably not going to do anything unless you're using it in Commander. Moving right along, we have the Diver Scab. 2 blue and 3 for a 3/5 with exploit. When you exploit a creature, target creature's owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. This just seems really bad. 5 mana for a 3/5 that doesn't even kill something when it comes into play. I mean, it is a zombie, but I don't see anybody using this unless it's just filler space. Unless it's just filler space in general for limited formats. So, Next, we have Retrieve. Green and 2, return up to 1 target creature card and up to 1 target non-creature permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile, Retrieve. This is really good. I know there's one for this much that flashes back, and that's all cool. But this, for a one-time cost of 3, will get you 2 things. A creature and a planeswalker, or a land, or whatever, right? This is clearly better. So, I see this probably having a little bit of play. It's going to be amazing and limited. And probably definitely going to see some commander shenanigans, too. Moving on, next we have Abrade is back, boys and girls. That's right, Red Necroduality to deal 3 damage or destroy an artifact. One of the best removal spells that has been printed for Red in the past couple years has been reprinted. So look for this to be everywhere. So yeah, I mean, it's Abrade. What more can you say? It's playable. Next here we have Syncopate reprint. Once again, if you don't know what Syncopate does, for a blue and X, it's an instant. You can counter target spell that's control the pace at what an X is. If the spell's countered, you exile it instead of putting it in the graveyard. So good old counter spell, almost like Mana Leak, except it actually exiles things. So great card, good counter spell. Looks like blue's getting a little bit of power up. Glad to see this little fella come back. Olenbrook Escort. So for 1 white, you get a human monk that's a 1/1, has vigilance. You sacrifice it, target creature control with a +1/+1 counter on it, gains lifelink, indestructible to end of turn. Seems fine. Might be good and limited if you have +1/+1 counters to pass out. It's gonna be really good in standard because the whole white weenie standard deck's all about putting counters on things. And with the dog gone, this is gonna be the next best thing. So, moving on. Magma Pummeler. Interesting. So for 2 red and X, you get a creature elemental. When it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, so if it's 2 red and 1, it's a 1/1. If damage would be dealt to the Magma Pummeler while it has a +1/+1 counter on it, prevent that damage, remove that many +1/+1 counters. When 1 or more counters are removed this way, Magma Pummeler deals that much damage to any target. Alright, so this is pretty good for an uncommon. For 4 mana, you can get a 2/2, deal 2 damage to anything. So it can actually kill a 4/4. It's going to be really good and limited. Really good and limited. This is probably going to see a lot of good commander action too, because you can just jack mana into this and maybe even blow somebody off the table. It might see a little bit of standard action, but it's definitely not going to be a 4 of because it takes too much mana to activate, especially in red. But we will probably see this float around a little bit. Moving on. Scattered Thoughts. So for a blue and 3, we have an instant. You look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 2 of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Okay, so it's basically a fact or fiction that your opponent don't get to choose. Basically, seems pretty good to me. Might even see some play in older formats just because of what it does. Moving on, Laid to Rest. So for a green and 3, get an enchantment whenever a human you control dies, draw a card. Wow. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, gain 2 life. Pretty good. Probably gonna be pretty decent and limited if you have a humans deck. Probably won't see much standard play because 4 mana is a lot. You could be doing a lot more stuff with this other than what this does for 4 mana. That might be more productive. Could be something worthwhile in Commander. So we'll see what happens. Moving on, we have the Curse of Hospitality for a red and 2. It's an enchant player curse. Creatures attacking the enchanted player have trample. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to an enchanted player, that player exiles top card of their library until end of turn. That creature's controller may play that card and spend mana as any mana of any color to cast it. This is going to be really big in Commander, especially in group games when you can actually lay this curse on somebody and incentivize people to punch them in the face. So, because it says any creature, so like you can curse somebody in Commander, and the person after you who is not cursed and not you can attack with their creatures and get this effect. So I think this is actually going to be a curse that's going to be worth a few dollars, especially in the Commander deck shenanigan style. So it might even be really good, honestly, with you in limited, just because for 3 mana you could probably mill somebody out. It says exile the top card of their library. Um, if 3 creatures deal damage, you exile 3 cards. Even if you don't cast them, but more often than not, you're probably just going to cast them and kill them. So it might not be too bad. There might be some standard legs around this, so I'll have to wait and see. All right, we have Arm the Cathar. So for 2 white and 1 sorcery until end of turn, target creature gets +3/+3, up to 1 other target creature gets +2/+2, another target creature gets +1/+1, and they each gain vigilance to end of turn. So this is going to be great and limited because it's going to make one-sided swings very easy because then people have to block because the swing back won't kill them. Unfortunately, it's a sorcery, so you'll see it coming, but it still looks good. That's probably going to be the only place we see plays limited format. Next, we have Resistance Squad for a white and 2. It's a human soldier. It's a 3/2, bat on rate. When Resistance Squad enters the battlefield, if you control another human, draw a card. So that's pretty cool. That might see some play in the mono white deck, although 3 mana is really the top end of the mono white. But being able to draw a card and get a 3/2 at the same time might push it over the edge to be used. Definitely going to be great and limited if you're using humans. And probably any other format, Commander, Brawl, where you just want to draw some cards when you have one-ofs. Moving on, we have Radiant Grace. Oh boy. So for 1 white, we get an aura. It says enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and vigilance. Excuse me. When enchanted creature dies, return Radiant Grace to the battlefield, transform under your control, attached to target opponent. It says enchant player, creatures enchanted player controls, enter the battlefield tapped. Very interesting. It's very blue-white control centric, but you require a creature for it to go to the graveyard, so that's very interesting. We'll have to see how this plays out. It's probably going to be pretty cool in draft and sealed formats, and there may even be a place for this, honestly, in standard, depending. If not in the sideboard, maybe even starter decks, depending on how creature-centric the format ends up being. Moving right along, we have Lantern Flare. So for a white and 2, Lantern Flare deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control, which is great for white, especially as a rare. Um, and you can cleave it, which is basically a lightning helix / fireball, where the brackets go away and X becomes how much damage you deal and how much life you gain. This is going to be a powerhouse removal spell for for white. And I do think it's probably going to take the place of the newest white removal spell, uh, that gives treasure tokens, because if you're playing white, you're probably playing creatures, which means this does the thing you need it to do, except for the fact that you can cleave it later to gain life, deal damage, take out planeswalkers. I think this might be a better removal. We're gonna have to wait and see, but I think this is gonna be great in limited, standard, maybe even pioneer. Um, yeah. So Commander. Moving on. Howlpack Piper. All right, so this is pretty cool art. We have a rare, so for a green and 3, it's a human werewolf. Oh, it can't be countered. That's pretty good. It's only a 2/2 though. For 1 green and 1 colorless, you tap it. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, untap the Piper if it's a wolf or werewolf. That seems disgusting. Um, Stay bound whenever it's flipped. It's a werewolf that whenever this card enters the battlefield or transforms into the Howler, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest of the cards in the bottom of the library in random order. This thing is going to be bonkers. Um, Only because you either A, put big nappies onto the playfield, i.e., that giant green thing that lets you put land on play and draw cards, or B, you go find things to put into your hand that when it flips back over, you can put back onto the battlefield. This thing just seems so good. It is restricted to a sorcery, thank God, so it's not completely broken, but this is going to see a lot of play, I believe, in not only limited, but probably standard, and maybe even some older formats. Well, maybe Pioneer Brawl, definitely Commander. It's going to be really pushing it to get this into like a format like Modern, though. Although it might almost be good enough. It's really close. 4 mana is the real drawback here. Moving on. Next, we have Necroduality. So for a blue and 3, you get an enchantment. It says when a non-token zombie enters the battlefield, under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature, and it's a mythic. This is going to be $10, $20, if not more, because it's easy. I could easily see this having standard play. I could easily see this having play, maybe even in modern. Uh, just because there's so many good zombies that you want to copy. Commanders this is going to be a powerhouse, limited powerhouse, brawl probably powerhouse. Like there's so much stuff this can do. I look for this to be a very high price card as far as the casual stuff goes. And once somebody figures out how to break it, this thing could be disgusting in a real tournament, especially because it's not legendary or anything. You'd have 2 or 3s in play and just make zombies galore by casting 1 creature. So yeah, like for example, imagine having this in play for 4, then casting Gonti. Ugh. I think Gonti's a zombie, ain't he? I don't know. I'm sure there's stuff out there that does other heinous things similar to this. Like Grave Titan. Ugh. Anyway, so moving right along. Let's see if there's anything left. Oh, there is not. So Necroduality wraps it up with the left hook to look at me and hold my beer. So with all that said, guys, we saw some great spoilers today and some very big powerhouse cards coming to the game. Remember, until next time, stay kind, and I hope to see you at the Crimson Vow pre-release across from the game table.